Yo, give it a minute. Give it a minute. Let some people come in. Give it a second. Spotty connection. Hopefully that gets figured out. Yeah, just give it a second. Make sure everything is good. And yeah, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Miami Call-In Show presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Jane Gonzalez. Happy Thursday, everyone. We're in the off season, unfortunately. As obviously we all saw what happened on Monday. I was there in attendance, boots on the ground. I'll talk about it shortly before I'll talk portal as well, and then we'll get into the call-in, questions, whatever it may be. But I'll start with the national championship, obviously. Tough one. Definitely a tough one to that I'm still processing. I feel a little bit better after a couple of days, feeling a little bit better, but it was a tough one for sure. Indiana's a really good team. They played a great game. Miami fought. If they didn't make mistakes, Miami doesn't make the mistakes that they did, they probably win that game. If things don't, if things went your way in certain ways, if the block punt doesn't happen, if the missed field goal doesn't happen, if Beck doesn't throw the interception, a lot of different things you could say and say what if to. And it's unfortunate because I thought the second half Miami looked like the team we had been seeing all year long. The Fletcher touchdown really woke things up. At least the crowd looked awesome. I thought it was, yeah, exactly, Jimmy. We had our chances. We absolutely had our chances. The block punt really was a game changer and the difference. The 4th and 5, followed by the 4th and 4, where Mendoza throws a back shoulder throw to Charlie Becker, an incredible grab by him, followed by the 4th and 4, where Mendoza makes his Heisman level play. Crucial. Both those were very killer. The penalties hurt us, really inopportune penalties. A lot of different things you could kind of point at and say, damn, I wish we could have that back. Credit to Indiana. They had a great game. They're they were consistent all year long and they did what they needed to do. It's one of the best stories in college football. You tip your hat to them. Their fans they packed Hard Rock. Credit to them. They had a great, it was a great game. Had a great time. Very sad, obviously. Absolutely very sad. And I think the ultimate way you can kind of look at this though is, obviously I don't know how you guys want to say if the U is back or not. And I think the U is back in terms of, national relevance there, the ability to be competing for a national championship and that relevance there, the ability to kind of say every single year we're going to be competitive. We should be the top of the ACC. We should be a top 10 team in college football year in, year out. That to me is what makes the U back and in this new level that's forward. The amount of alumni that were there on Monday and had been here all season long, the national relevance, the fact that it was the second highest national championship game since the era of college of the CFP. I would say the U is bad. I think things like this, kind of like the amount of talk about Miami, I think it's all kind of there. And Miami's currently reloading and retooling, and I think they will be back in this spot, a year from today. So I do feel good about where we are as Miami. We were a 6.5 point underdog score in the FanDuel, and we fought. We were one drive away from winning that game. So I would say, yeah, the U is back, and it feels like we have some really high level of a future, at least in the state of Florida. We're clear the best team, and then in terms of the country, top 10, top 15, continue to strike, continue to do well in the portal, continue to recruit well and develop and kind of retool and redevelop some of these guys. And you have a shot at going right back to it next year. Yeah, I agree, Chris. The block punt, the missed field goal was the mistakes. Special teams was huge. Even you had, credit to Indiana, one of the punts I'm sure you all saw where Malgatoni, he had caught the punt. He could have, I think it was inside the 5, I think. That was supposed to be a trick play. It could have been a touchdown. It was a great punt by Indiana. Special teams really killed us. And it hadn't been, all year long, I actually thought special teams had been a bit of a positive for us. And that wasn't there on Monday. The block punt was huge. Bowman missed the block. Dylan Joyce also wasn't great in the game. Carter Davis missing the kick. He had been so good all year long, struggling in the playoffs. You kind of hate to see that. The first half, the offense wasn't there. They really couldn't get anything going at all. Beck looked really kind of shaky throughout the entire game. And then that pick at the end, It obviously, kind of unforced, didn't read the coverage properly, but you still give credit to what Miami did show. Malachi Tony and Mark Fletcher, two guys that are returning dogs. You've seen that all year long. They're continuing to be dogs. They're going to have an incredible year next year. They're going to be the foundational pieces of that offense. And I'm excited for at least the development and the consistency of where Miami will look like in the future, on offense, spearheaded by those two guys. And then defensively, yeah, you lose Bane, you lose Mesidor, Ahmad Moten's back. You have a really awesome defensive line that I'll talk about in a second. That's going to be very, very good, regardless of the losses on the defensive line. Maybe offensive line, you could say maybe there's a little bit of a concern there, but the team overall should be able to reload, regroup, and come back next year even stronger, in my opinion. I feel that way, in everything. So I feel very comfortable in the future of this team. It sucks that they lost on Monday, but I feel confident that this team in the future can turn it around, or not really turn it around, do it again and figure it out again. Yeah, I mean I agree. One thing that helps, bring in a lot of guys. You have Malachi Tony, you lose CJ Daniels, you lose Keelan Marion. Both, that's off. It sucks. Go be great in the league. At least CJ, you have Tony. You bring in Jones from South Carolina. You bring in the West Virginia guy. There's rumors on potentially bringing in another guy like Cooper Barkate, Joshua Moore another year, having JoJo Trader another year. You have guys, and also the freshman class is coming in, which I think is going to be filled with dogs between Van Spafford and Samorian Wingo. I love the way the receiving core is going to look. The running back group, you still have Fletcher. I know you lost Gerard Pringle. That one hurts. But you retool, you regroup. I do. And then at quarterback, assuming things go right with Mensa and it's all good, I think we should be happy about, in general about that. Yeah, look, I'm not saying, I understand that we lost. I mean, I had said it. I said, obviously, no matter what, I want to win. And there's no guarantees of coming back. Chris Paul said in his press conference, he's right. He's 100% right. But at least you can say on paper, looking at this team next year, that there's a lot to still look forward to, especially in the event that they bring back, that they bring in a guy like Darian Mensah at quarterback to replace Beck. If they get a guy like Jordan Seaton, I don't think they're going to get Jordan Seaton, but getting a guy like Jordan Seaton, in general, I feel like Miami is still in a very good spot to continue to be really good and, continue to be national championship contenders. But obviously, yeah, will they get back? We can't guarantee that. I think from everything I hear about the Mensa situation, I would consider Mensa an upgrade. I would. I loved watching him play at Duke. I enjoy what he can do. I mean, he had career year at Duke and if he does come to Miami, he'll have more talent than he did last year at Duke. And I would argue he was top 3 quarterback in the ACC this season for sure. I thought he was great. Let me pull up his numbers right now, but I loved watching him play. He had, I want to say, at least 30 touchdowns, 6'3", 205, almost 4. He threw 3,973 yards, 34 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. That's a pretty good year, in my opinion. He balled out. He showed up when it mattered against UVA in the ACC championship game, 19 of 25, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Sun Bowl against Arizona State, 327 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. I loved what he did all year long. He's had over 65% completion percentage in both of his seasons. I think he's got what it takes to be a replacement easily for Beck, and then in the future continue, get better. He's also a little bit more mobile than Beck. And if you bring in, I'm not sure if they were to bring in Cooper Barkate, you bring in his top receiver, and Cooper Barkate, in my opinion, is a straight up dog. Had a great, I believe, 3 years at Harvard, 1 year at Duke. He's a dog. He led, I think he was second in receiving, only to Malachi Tony in the ACC. I love that kid. If you brought him in, I love the way the receiving core looks. You bring back Mark Fletcher. You assume Jordan Lyle is going to be the RB2 or Shamar Brown's going to be the RB2. You're fine there. Tight end, Elijah Lofton, maybe you and someone else, either a recruit from the portal. The offensive line to me is where I would say is a little bit of a concern. The offensive line. So you lose Markel Bell. I believe you lose pretty much the entire starting offensive line apart from maybe Sampson. So, and Sampson wasn't really the starter. It was kind of a mix between him and McCoy. So you lose Maui Noah, you lose Markel Bell, you lose Inez Cooper, you lose Brockermeyer. They've already said they want in-house at center. So maybe SJ would be the center. At right tackle would be Jackson Cantwell. Left tackle, I think they might go Portal there. And then you have, I believe Sampson might be right guard. Maybe I think Ryan Rodriguez has another year. Ryan Rodriguez and or Matthew McCoy as well. And you can work with that. I think you can work with that. So, if we can't convince Pringle, I mean that'd be interesting. Lofton is a little bit on the heavier side for sure to be a running back, but at tight end, I mean, he'd be fine at tight end. I think Lyle will return the form. You're already okay though with Fletcher and Marty Brown as your 1 and 2, and then if Lyle's your 3 or Hellcat could be your 3. I'm all good with the running back group. I think you're bringing in another running back as well from the recruiting class. Losing Pringle sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure he's gone. I really wanted him to stay. I loved watching him play in the short amount of time he did play. I don't think it, because if you also move Lofton to running back, I don't know who's going to be playing, like who's tight end. Like that to me is like a little bit. I don't know what to believe in at tight end. So that stuff scares me a little bit. But overall, I offensive line to me feels like the only thing I want to see. At least I want to see what it looks like. And regardless, you're getting a starting 5 that's entirely new and has very little experience compared to last year or the year before. I mean, the team, the 2025 team, CC played 3 straight years. Markel Bell had played JUCO and then had 2 years at Miami. Inez played pretty much I think he played 3 years straight up. So these are a lot of guys that have experience, that have played a lot. The new guys coming in, or at least Jackson Cantwell, true freshman. I understand he's the number 1 recruiting commit, but you're bringing in a guy to replacing Maui Noah. It's going to be a tough challenge. So offensive line, I do trust in Mirabal. I absolutely will always trust in Mirabal, but that could be a concern. You know what? Let me start. I forgot to do this. Let me post a link in the for the StreamYard link. As always, you put the StreamYard link in your browser, and then ask questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be. I'm here for it all. I mean I don't know about that because I think they need a blocking tight end at a minimum. I don't know because I don't know where you have. I don't know if Bowman. I don't think Bowman's coming back. If he does, then you have a blocking tight end. You need a blocking tight end at a minimum. I think Lofton is solid as an H-back. I don't know. I know they like the creativity that he can bring in that kind of way, but we'll see. I want to see. I've expected a lot from Lofton this year. I thought he was going to have a really good year. Injuries and then the lack of use to a tight end kind of hurt. I do think that Lofton will be really good. I'm banking on it, at least that next year he'll be really good. I like what the team looks like next year. It's early to tell. Obviously, the portal, we're still working through it between guys like Jordan Seaton, who we're paying to be in on, the South Carolina offensive tackle. I think, and then defensively, Well, so I thought Bowman would have been something like that, and he kind of was. And then the blocking, like he had a good blocking year overall. Apart from what he did on Monday, he had a good blocking year. But a Cam McCormick type, obviously you want a guy that is, you just need a tremendous blocker and that can maybe run a route or two at times, be a safety valve guy. And Lofton was supposed to be your explosive guy, almost a replacement to Elijah Arroyo. Wasn't that, hasn't been that so far. You're hoping that next year that changes. I wonder, I hope it happens. I hope they bring in a blocking tight end. We'll see. I don't know yet. I'm intrigued for that one. Defensively, I love them. I might love them. I won't say I love them even more than I did this year because you're losing Bane, you're losing Akeem Ezador, you're losing Keontae Scott, you're losing Jacoby Thomas, and from the portal, you've lost Jadias Richard. That one kind of hurts. A couple of the defensive tackles. You're not losing that many big guys in terms of from the defensive side, and then you're bringing in a lot of guys. Omar Thornton from Boston College, I think, is a dog, and he's going to be an easy replacement for Jacoby Thomas. I think Damon Wilson, who we got today from Mizzou, obvious dog. I think he's a immediate kind of plug and play as a replacement for Mesidor. And then in terms of Bane, obviously it's hard to replace Bane's value. Bane had tremendous value, he was incredible all year long. You're asking for a guy to replace what Bane did all year, and you're hoping that through the aggregate it would work, whether that be I'd say Hayden Lowe, Herbert Scroggins, Armando Blunt, Marquise Lightfoot obviously is the main guy. I think Marquise Lightfoot is set for a breakout year next year. He looked great as as a rotating guy. Him and Armando Blunt getting full years, love it. Paired with Damon Wilson in the interior, you get another year of Justin Scott, who I think is bound for a breakout, and another year of Ahmad Moten, who I think will be a top 3 round pick next year in next year's draft. I love the way the defensive line looks. I love it. You lose Bane and you lose Mesidor, but you bring in Damon Wilson, who I think can replace some of the production from Mesidor, and then they're consistently bringing in edges, and you have guys, even Hayden Lowe. I think Hayden Lowe, who got hurt, he's going to be great. I think he's going to be great. You have a lot of defensive linemen to work with. I love that part. Love it. Yeah, losing Archavius Jones hurts. Losing Dot Simpson left hurt. Well, in terms of depth reasons, and so yeah, you kind of it hurts losing some of those guys for depth purposes. You always want more rotational pieces. At times, I do like what they did replacement wise, and I still like Moten and Scott as the two guys there. I love them as the two guys there. You had David Blay last year. And I think they also are still in on another defensive tackle to potentially replace, Artavius Jones or whoever else at depth. You gain more and more depth at defensive tackle. The defensive back room, you get Omar Thornton. Yes, you lose Keontae Scott and Jacoby Thomas. You come back pretty strong still. You have another year of Xavier Lucas. You have another year of OJ Frederick. You have another year of Damari Brown. You're getting stuff from Seatbelt Waters and a full year of Jabari Antoine. I like it a lot. Bryce Fitzgerald, Zachariah Poyser get another year. They're getting, the chemistry is going to be there from last year. It's going to be able to maintain, probably bud and be even better. I love the DB room is going to be great. The defensive line room looks great. Linebackers, there's obviously reports of potentially Mo Toure coming back for another year. Would love that. Would love Mo Toure for another year. But I like what they have with Popo and Chase Smith and whoever else will. I believe they have a couple other linebackers from the recruiting class that they can use. And again, they're also bringing in a top 10 recruiting class. You have a top 10 recruiting class. You've gotten key guys from the portal, and you already have a current group of guys that are headlining this team that are going to be even better. Malachi Tony, one of the best true freshmen in college football. Sophomore year, he's going to be even better. Mark Fletcher, one more year. A group of guys that is just going to be. I think it's going to look so good, and I really do believe that this team can be something. Again next year. How far they go. Let's not worry about that. But in terms of building up the team, exactly, it still feels great to be a Miami Hurricane. It feels like this team is still able to be at the top of its game, competitive. They're on the recruiting trail right now. I know the way the schedule is sucks. They're on the recruiting trail. They're working through it. I love the way that they've been building this team out over the last few years, and I just love it. I love the way that it is. It feels great. Totally feels great. I'm excited for the future of it all. Let me look at Chase Smith's eligibility. I thought he was a sophomore, honestly. Chase Smith is a redshirt senior. Never mind. So you probably do lose Chase Smith. My apologies. True freshman. Yeah, I think you do. True freshman, sophomore, redshirt. No, I think he could. I think he can do one more year because he redshirted in 2023. He's considered a redshirt junior, so he'll be a redshirt senior next year. So he'll get one more year, I believe. And then West is going pro, and I believe Motsuri is might apply for one more year, which would be awesome. I would love if he can come back. Be an 8th year, be crazy, but it would fit in the way that works with two. He missed 2 seasons with torn ACL. He got him, and then he redshirted 1 year, and he also has a COVID year. So I mean, I'll take an 8th year from him. Yeah, I love corner. I love the way this team is being built right now. I just love it. And you want to let's look locally in terms of the state of Florida. Look at the other teams. UF is starting anew with John Summerall. FSU is essentially at the very, very end of Mike Norvell. I don't expect them to be very ultra competitive. And then UCF, USF, they're fine, but they're not Miami. Miami's clearing away the best team in Florida. They have been for the last 2 years, and they should be again this year, and that feels great. And then nationally, they're competing every single week with the big dogs. Like they talked about it for forever about how the ACC is not strong enough, how they're not good enough. Miami comes in, takes down 2 of the top teams in the SEC and Ole Miss and A&M, takes down a massive, the best team, the second best team in the Big Ten in Ohio State, the reigning national champions. Miami is right there with every other massive program. They're right there with them. They're right there with the best of the best. They're building anew. They're building strong. I love the way that everything's being built right now. I think it's great. And for anyone that is a bettor, Miami is tied for 9th, I believe, in odds to win the national championship next year at plus 1,600, according to FanDuel. I'd take that. I'm not a bettor though. But I do like everything that Miami is doing, is building. I love it all. It sucks what happened on Monday. Sucks that the season's over. Kind of has to be, because of the way the schedule is, because of the way it all is, you get a couple days rest, and then you're like, all right, who's out of the portal? Who's entering the portal? Who do we target? Who do we look for? And you get back on the recruiting trail, and you try to build and build again. And I love everything that Miami is continuing to do, and I'm hoping that this kind of run stays so far. They got 5 guys currently in the portal, at least. 2 of them kickers, between Jake Olson and Jake Weinberg, which is cool. You have Jarquez Carter, who's a guy I totally forgot about as a defensive lineman, depth-wise. Damon Wilson is a dog. Vandrevis Jacobs and Cam Vaughn, it's 2 really solid receivers. The receiving core is going to be deep. And then Omar Thornton as a safety, I think is going to be great. In terms of the biggest losses, I'd say, in terms of defensively, or at least in terms of the team, Mari Wallace, Brock Schott, that one hurt me a little bit. I'll be honest. Dalen Russell, yeah. Outside of that, Artavius Jones, I like Jajais Richard too, and Malik Bryant. I think and also Tommy Kinsler and Derek Platts for depth purposes. Yeah, you lose a couple guys here and there. The way the portal is, whatever. Obviously, and also Pringle as well. Yes. I've been saying this part. I've been saying as well, for the longest time. At a minimum, you gotta win the ACC. You gotta win the ACC. It's hilarious that you've won a conference, or that you've made it to the national championship game before you've won the ACC. You haven't been to the ACC championship game in like 8 years. It's crazy. It's crazy the way that it's all working out. Pringle was the one that hurt me the most, I'd say, because I loved watching him play. I think just from the get-go of him running, like he so fast, so awesome. He doesn't get tackled easily. He was great in the backfield, great as a receiving back. The last 4 games, he really helped us in those last 4 games of the regular season. Him going hurts. I'm sure one of the big dogs like Georgia or Alabama is going to be in on him. Good for him. I don't feel any ill will towards any of these guys. I wish them nothing but the best in this current era of college football, where at the end of the day, they're trying to get their bag, and they deserve, whether it's warranted or not. A lot of these guys deserve to get their pay, get their bag. So is what it is. Miami's doing the same thing. Miami's paying out big bags everywhere you look. If they get Darian Mensah, that's a big bag they're handing out. But I love it. It works. If it's working for Miami, then it's fine. Fine by me right now. Yeah, that's what I liked a lot about him, that you could go Fletcher for, maybe two play. If you wanted to only run the football on a drive, you can go Fletcher for 2 plays and then give it to Pringle. I believe like the first game I thought of was NC State. He was great. I believe Virginia Tech. I think a lot of Virginia Tech. I loved watching him play. And I'm not sure if Fletcher played in that game, but I'm pretty sure Pringle ended up just being the lead guy. He was so fun to watch. He brings an elusiveness and a quickness that Fletcher doesn't have. Fletcher is a straight up dog, like a Derrick Henry kind of guy. Pringle is just a guy you can get for 10, like 5 to 6 carries, 60 yards, something like that. He was great. I'm grateful for what he did this year. So wish him nothing but the best as well. Same with Emory and Ray. I hope they do really well at ECU. I think it's gonna be fun. Their duo over there. Yeah, I see anything else. And then at least kicker, they replaced the kicker with 2 different guys. One is a an actual kicker, and then one is a place kicker for kickoffs. So a lot of different things early through the portal right now. I know it closed on Friday, but it's still relatively early for Miami to make moves still. There's still a lot of good guys out there between Jordan Seaton. Once the Darian Mensah stuff clears up, which probably won't get cleared up for at least another week or two, you kind of have to sit on that one. And if something happens with Mensah where he has a change of heart and he goes back to Duke, that's going to hurt because you don't have Emory, and you then have to find either a quarterback who's in the portal who you really don't want, or you're looking at Darion Coleman or Luke Nickel getting their first starts right away. And I'm not sure how comfortable you would feel about that team with having Luke Nickel right away. That to me scares me quite a little bit. I can't lie. But it was a great year, and I have no complaints, at least for what this year was. 6-7 weeks ago, I thought Miami didn't have a chance to make the playoff. I didn't think they were going to get in. I thought the committee was going to stiff them over. I thought Notre Dame was going to get the nod over them. They sneak in. They play like they have incredible big game drives. They rise to the occasion in every big moment, which is a credit to Cristobal and the staff. A&M rose to the occasion. Malachi Tony touchdown, Bryce Fitzgerald interception. Ohio State, you get the Keontae Scott interception at halftime, and then you find a way to win that game by 10 points, capitalize on the Marty Brown touchdown, and then Ole Miss, Carson Beck coming up huge in the fourth quarter. Just that's an incredible 3 games for Miami. The best year Miami's had in over 23 years, 24, since the best year Miami's had in quite some time. It feels good to have a season like that. And it feels good. Yes, you have hardware now. You're now one of 2 teams to claim a bowl, every one of the New York 6 bowl games with the Fiesta Bowl now that you took over that one. That feels good. You got the Cotton Bowl, you got the Fiesta Bowl. You have that win against A&M. Those games are program building wins. Jeremiah Smith had said it in the game leading up to Ohio State that in the game leading up against Miami, if Miami had looked like this, maybe something else happens. And you're hoping that for any of the South Florida guys for the next few years, they are looking at what Miami's doing, the way that the community has kind of come to Miami's side over the last couple of years, and especially this year, and rallying around Cristobal. Miami's the place to be, and that's what it feels like. To me, that's what feels like when you say the U is back, stuff like that. When you're keeping the guys, when you keep in the hometown guys, when you keep in the South Florida guys, when you get the big guys, instead of the Texases of the world, the LSUs of the world, when you're getting those guys, that feels good. That to me is like a second to none feeling. And I'm hoping that these are, the Cotton Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl are awesome. They're incredible. You're building off of that for the eventual national championship with victory, next year. So I would love it. I would love it. Yeah. Mario's made quite a few visits recently. I think the whole recruiting group has. I believe we were with Mark Matthews yesterday. I think I'm trying to remember that one. They definitely were all around South Florida in the last couple days. I would love Mark Matthews. He's a dog. They've gone for Nick Leonard, I believe. I think Chris Beard was with one, like the staffer was with another guy. That's the recruiting trail. It's Mario's recruiting. He's persistent. He goes strong. He goes hard. He goes hard in the paint, and I love this. It's a great time of the year. You can kind of relax a little bit. If you get some guys, and then you can kind of psych yourself into believing in. All right, we're going back to the national championship, but we got time. It's an off season. We can chill, relax. We kind of reminisce now on a really fun, really awesome year. I'm in my third year at Miami. I didn't think Miami was going to do anything like this in my tenure here. It's been an incredible experience, and I'm excited for next year and hopefully finally bringing home that natty for the first time in 25 years. That'd be incredible. So I'm hoping for the best for it all. Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Daryl. You're absolutely right. I believe Cristobal had mentioned it quite a few times. There was I believe he had said it in NC State. No, you know what it was? I think it was A&M. He had mentioned I believe I had asked him about Pringle because he believe he got one rep, he had maybe a one drive, and then he wasn't seen for the rest of the game. The pass pro, I believe, was something Mario was talking about. But he is so fun and he is so quick, and he's something that you can pair with Fletcher, because Marty Brown, fun. He's also a good back, but he doesn't provide the same change of pace as Pringle does. And now it's, like if we had Chris Johnson from a couple of years back, it'd be the same way of thinking, or Brashad Smith. Maybe I think Hellcat could maybe Hellcat. I don't think Hellcat's as fast as Pringle, but yeah, his pass pro was a big issue. Marty Brown's pass pro is way better. Fletcher's pass pro is way better, and ultimately, pass pro is going to get you more reps. And Marty Brown had a lot of reps in the biggest moments. He had better ball security. I keep forgetting about Lyle. His injury really did kind of mess things up for him. I do feel I'm hoping that he stays and does another year, because I really do like him. Last year, his freshman year, he was fun. I know in believe Notre Dame, it was a total mix between Fletcher and Lyle. And I think Lyle got hurt against Notre Dame, and that kind of derailed his whole season from there. So you're hoping a full season from him, a healthy full season from him will be nice. That'd be cool. In terms of some of the guys that got a little bit of playing time this year, JoJo, I don't know. I can't tell you anything about if JoJo is going to take a step forward. I would love if Lyle were to get back on the field and kind of show obviously the first thing you can remember is the USF touchdown, that 97-yard one. If he can do something like that, if he still has that in him, which I do think he does, that's another piece that Miami's bringing. You get a year 2 of Joshua Moore, who I love Joshua Moore. I think he's one of the more underrated guys on the team. I believe in the national championship game, he had that screen, and if his knee wasn't down, like he could have broken free for a big play there. Yeah. I know on the JoJo stuff, but he's got to prove it, because this is a big year for him, at least considering the amount of guys that are coming in, especially if Cooper Barkate were to come to Miami, because then that's 3 portal guys, Joshua Moore year 2, recruiting class, Samorian Wingo, Van Spafford. That's a lot of guys that he's got to prove himself over. Uh, let's see here. We need to add Seaton, the linebacker, 2 DTs plus. So I think we are definitely are building. You add. I agree with Seaton because you definitely need another offensive lineman. His price is a lot. Linebacker, I agree. I do agree on the linebacker. So two defense tackles is interesting because I like Moten and Scott already. And then you have, yes, Milan Paris. I keep forgetting about Milan Paris. You have Scott and you have Moten already. You just brought in Jarquez Carter. I believe there's another portal commit, another guy that Miami's looking at defensive tackle wise. I think the guy from Nebraska. So there's multiple. I think they are going to get defense tackles. You definitely need Mensa. You definitely need Cooper because Mensa and Cooper's duo would be an awesome dynamic duo paired with Malachi Tony. And then yeah, I think they are building. I'm okay with saying that it's that the linebacker and Seaton to me would be the two biggest ones. And I'm kind of going under the assumption that Mensa does come here because of everything that's been going on, that it's either he either returns to Duke in some improbable way, school that's suing him, or he comes to Miami. Yeah, I mean, there's a world where JoJo maybe looks at the Barkate thing and says, maybe I need some more playing time, and then he heads somewhere else. It definitely is a make or break year, but he has to set himself apart from some of the other guys. Especially if you're bringing in 3 really solid recruiting receivers and potentially 3 transfer portal receivers and Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore. That's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys that he has to kind of fight his way with. I really wanted JoJo to be successful. His blocking is good. That's what I can say there. And I thought eventually that one of those deep balls was going to connect after the SMU game. Thought he was going to have more of those connect. It's unfortunate. That one's unfortunate. And I think maybe we should, I don't know if we should be talking about JoJo in the way that everyone does, like that he's a key component to this team. I think he's fine. I think he's another depth piece at this point, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him as another depth piece. So when you bring in Omar Thornton, in my opinion, replaces Jacoby Thomas, and then you have another year of Zachariah Poyser and another year of Bryce Fitzgerald. I know you do lose. I think they did lose Amari Wallace and Markeith Williams, but I'm okay without with Omar Thornton, Bryce Fitzgerald, Zachariah Poyser. I think those 3 are dogs. I think those 3 are fine as is. I agree. I love Cooper Barkate. I watched a lot of Cooper Barkate last year at Duke. He was so fun to watch. Let me pull up his stats quickly. Cooper Barkate was fun. He was fun. He's all those things you say about like a white receiver, he's got it all. He's got all that kind of swag. 72 catches, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. Great year. It was a really fun year for. I mean, he had in the game against UVA and then in the AC championship game, he had 5 for 91. He's so good. I think he's just so fun to watch, and he just plays really well in all facets. He'll be a veteran piece that you add, and he's Bence's top guy. I got no complaints with that. Yeah. That'd be him and Tony. Barkate and Tony would be so much fun. It'd be so much fun. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. And I know they did a lot of Bryce Fitzgerald there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did continue with Bryce Fitzgerald at a nickel. But I want Bryce back out there because he's a ball hawk. He had 6 interceptions. I would prefer Bryce to stay out there, but his speed is there. Maybe so the Boston College has Omar Thornton. I wonder if you could have Omar Thornton do that. But you need what made Keontae Scott great was because of the nickel blitzes that they dialed up, paired with Keontae Scott just being a straight up dog, being able to run everywhere he was able to and make every single tackle, it felt like. It's hard to replace a guy like Keontae Scott. When he was hurt, they had Bryce take his spot, and I thought Bryce played pretty well. But you do miss out on his his ball hawking ability. And maybe you have Omar Thornton play there. I don't know. Omar Thornton is a straight up dog as a he is similar to, I won't say he's the same, but he is similar to Jacoby Thomas. I believe this season he had 2 sacks and four forced fumbles and interception. To me, that's a guy that you have 2 sacks. Sounds like he's gonna be he might be filling a similar role that Keontae Scott could, or the way that, because sometimes they had a safety blitz and Jacoby Thomas was doing that. Maybe Omar Thornton kind of fits that kind of style, and then you have Bryson Poyser as your 2 safeties deep. That could be something. In terms of maybe one of the I don't know, one of the 4 corners. I don't think any of them would take over in the nickel between O'Connor, Frederic, Damari Brown. I don't know, and Xavier Lucas. I don't think so. I would love another ski. I mean, it's so hard to replace a guy of the value of Keontae Scott, and they did pretty well when Keontae Scott went out with injury. I believe between Jacoby Thomas and Fitzgerald, but it was still not easy to replace those kind of guys. So maybe Thornton kind of takes that spot. Damari could take that spot. If Damari takes that spot, then you could have Xavier Lucas and OJ Frederic, who I think as well on Monday. I thought Frederic was awesome on Monday. I thought he played so well one-on-one. And Indiana has got some great receivers, and I thought Miami's guys held up for the most part. I mean, Ethan O'Connor, I understand all the stuff they said about that was said about O'Connor. The backstroke throws are so hard to defend, and when you're one-on-one with one of the best, guys that can do that in the country, between that duo of Mendoza and Charlie Becker, it's kind of hard. It's pretty difficult to defend. He did miss some tackles. It wasn't his best game. But I do still like Ethan O'Connor. I still think he is a solid cornerback for our team. It does also help for Omar Thornton. I believe he's a junior, so you could have maybe another year after that with him. So I agree. Those 3 are also, to me, feeling like in a group of very similar players that came in. Well, I guess because Lyle came in last year and Lofton and JoJo the year before. But they are kind of grouped in the same way of almost like what ifs, because of what you're expecting them. Like Lyle out of high school being a 4-star, maybe even a 5-star running back. No, it was a high 4-star that flipped from Ohio State. He was awesome. And you were expecting to see what he brought freshman year into last year, and he got hurt. I do believe in Lyle. Lofton, I don't necessarily know what happened. I really was expecting a breakout year, and it just didn't happen. That one to me was more unfortunate. And then JoJo, I can't say that JoJo will be a part of this top 3 of, at least maybe in the top 5 of the next receiver group, unless he stands out during spring practice and fall camp. I can't see him being in that kind of spot. I at the moment. I need to see it, but I haven't seen it so far. Yeah. Oh, that 100%. There's a lot of guys you can look at for the 2017 draft that you're already thinking they can be a high draft pick. I think already Moten coming back. OJ Frederic, I'd say definitely Damon Wilson. I think Marquise Lightfoot would do maybe Marquise Lightfoot, but you'd have to see more from him. Mensa would be a top 3 round pick, assuming he comes to Miami. Fletcher, if he has another really good year. That's 5 guys already that I'm looking at, that you can say they can already have the potential to be top end draft round picks, top 3 round picks already. So there's a lot to look forward to with that group. I mean, I keep saying there's a core there. There's a core that they have, a young core of guys that you saw perform this year that are coming back next year and are only going to get better, paired with quality transfer portal guys and a top 10 recruiting class. The future to me of this team is super bright. I think it's so bright and it's very strong. I love and OJ Frederic has been really cornerback too, because Xavier Lucas I thought had a really good year as well. I think the whole defense, which is hold on to Corey Heatherman as much as possible until he signed, and also Jason Taylor as much as possible before they get head coaching jobs somewhere. Hold on to them because these guys have been transformative to a defense that 2 years ago, oh my gosh, was it brutal to watch. And this year, I thought we had a top 5, I mean, easily a top 5 defense with Heatherman. You have another Heatherman's going to be here again. The defense is, other than a couple guys who are really good, obviously, it's going to be a little bit to replace them. They look really strong. And I'm loving the way that this team can be potentially in the future. And I think the sky's the limit for these guys. But it does start though with Mensah coming to Miami, and that one, from everything you hear, I would expect Mensah to come to Miami. I can't see otherwise right now. I just can't personally. I am curious about that, but I do think he will come back. I will think he will come to Miami. It's going to be a hefty price tag, but you got the money. You got $30 million from the CFP, plus who else is, the donors and the boosters are going to continue to want to invest in a program that is looking like it's back. The alumni group, everyone, it feels like the community is there. South Florida is there. It's being brought together again, and everything feels like it's leaning towards that way. And that feels pretty good. That feels pretty good in my opinion, that you're kind of getting back to the Miami of old that I never got to see. That feels pretty awesome. But yeah, I'll post the link one more time. No one joins, no problem. Wrap it up. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, chatting with us, with me, whatever. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot to look forward to. A full healthy year of Damari Brown, because he was obviously battling with injury. OJ Frederico was battling with injury towards the end of the year. Heatherman is a tremendous DC. Omar Thornton, I'm just from the tape. He plays so fun, so free. He brings that ESV mentality and that mindset. A lot of people were worried that Cristobal wasn't bringing in the top guys, or that he wasn't going to bring in a top portal class, and he brings in some really high quality players off the bat. He brings in some high quality players, and that's a really awesome start. All of them working together, and I think really the defensive line, I think it's. I really don't want to say it's going to be better, but it might be better. It might look. I know you lose Bain. I know you lose Mesidor, but when you bring back Moten and Scott, you're bringing in 2 more. I think you're bringing in a couple more portal guys, and then in terms of the edge rushers, Dame Wilson is going to be incredible. Hayden Lowe coming back, Herbert Scroggins full year, Armando Blunt and Marquise Lightfoot, dogs. I think the sky's the limit really for that defensive line group. Linebacker, yeah, I think linebacker would be if anything on the defensive front, your only concern. Offensively, I've been talking about it forever. But yeah, I think our secondary is gonna be sick. I think our defense is gonna be sick. I think it's gonna be awesome to watch again. They're building something there. Just like really enjoy what we're seeing right now. That you have a competent kind of group and people that are building this thing together. That feels pretty awesome. Yeah, if I'll see if there's any other comments coming in. Give it a minute or so. But I really do appreciate everyone for tuning in. Especially because of the off season. It's a little bit different because there's not games we're talking about. We're just talking about what we're hearing through the recruiting trail and everything going on. And I'm excited for it all. I'm excited for a full year of offseason coverage with you guys, talking ball, talking about what this team could look like in the future. Spring camp, fall camp, can't wait. I'm excited for it all. It's been very fun. Everything's been very, very fun. I do actually. I do think so, because from what I was reading within the lawsuit, they had mentioned that I believe they were using it was a Twitter post from Liam Blutman, the one that had said the alleged Mensa package. From that package saying that Mensa was going to get 10 mil, all this, all that, and then like 2 hours later he entered the portal. They're using that as like evidence, but they're not trying to say that Miami like exactly tampered. It was kind of just a show that he was violating his contract. I'm pretty. I don't know if the lawsuit with Mensa will fail. I think more or less they'll settle. When it settles, Miami will eventually go for. He'll obviously go to Miami. I am curious though. I think they will. I think they'll try. I think they'll try. I mean, look at like the Xavier Lucas situation. It's still technically going on, despite it being a full year now, or near a year since they sued. So maybe it happened. I don't know. Maybe it happens. Maybe it doesn't. From what I do know, though, Duke failed to. They wanted to restrict Mensa from entering the portal. He entered the portal. They wanted to keep him. They want to I think they want to renegotiate a contract with him at best, but I don't think it's going to happen. Instead, it looks like Mensa's but Mensa can't, and Mensa can't commit or enroll with the university until his hearing day, which is February 2nd. And then on February 2nd, you'll hear pretty much anything. Hopefully, it's going to be that they settle or something happens that it doesn't really mean anything for Miami and the fact that Miami will get him. I do believe in it. I believe that Miami will get Mensa. I'm pretty confident in that, at least, unless something really drastic happens or Duke makes it so uncomfortable that Mensa's like, screw it. I'm going to go back to Duke and renegotiate a contract with them, which I still think is going to be, I can't. I have no idea. But yeah, that's a good question. I would like to know. I am curious what happens for sure. It's going to be an interesting off season. They need Mensa. They definitely need Mensa. So yeah. But thank you guys for tuning in. Me and Shay will be back on Monday. Hopefully, some portal things happen, some recruiting things happen. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for tuning in. Had a great time chatting with you guys. Hold on. I have not heard anything about Jordan Seaton. I can't. I know that Miami's still in on him. I know it was between LSU, Miami, and Oregon, and he wants between 4 to 5 million. I think that's what the rumors were. Miami, I think, in on him. I don't know if Miami's going to get. Oh, a late minute, Jimmy Roberts. How you doing, Jimmy?
I am doing excellent. How are you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I was disappointed we didn't win it all. We had our chances, like you said earlier. The only takeaway that I take from that game that Beck, if that's the strongest his arm strength is, he's gonna probably be like a fifth or sixth rounder
I
in the
agree.
draft. I just don't see him being a top three draft pick. His arm, and I guess maybe he needed a full year to recover. I'm pretty sure he went into a dead arm period in the mid season, and then he tried
Mhm.
to get the strength back at the end of the season. But if you watched him the whole year, he puts a lot of air on his ball. It's never like we hit the receivers in stride. It's just they got to wait on it. Now the intermediate game, he's good at.
Mhm.
But when he tried to make that long throw, he just put too much. It was short, and he had too much air under there.
Yeah.
That disappointed me that he went to him when we had 53 seconds left. That we really could have just took our time and went down the field. And I fought Shannon for not telling him, look, don't get greedy.
Mhm.
We gonna progress this down to the end. And if we get inside the 5 with 15, 10 seconds left, I feel like we could win the game. Just like we did against Ole Miss.
Yeah. I
But
agree.
for we
Yeah.
to let him go out there with no guidance and let him make a call for himself, I didn't like that. And
It's
then go ahead.
so I was gonna. I don't know. I think it was just honestly he had mentioned it that he thought it was a poor throw. It wasn't in the right, like he didn't read the right coverage. He thought they were in cover. I forgot what coverage he said he was in, but they were in cover two. He didn't see that, and Keelan Marion didn't see that back through the ball. If Beck had waited a little bit longer, Keelan Marion was going to get wide open by that play, and didn't end up working out. In terms of Beck as a player, I remember him saying earlier or at some point during the season, he was he mentioned a lot about the fact that it took him a long time for his arm to really build back. and he didn't feel like he was really built back until I want to say it was NC State when he had said that. He was like after NC State, he was like, I really do feel like I'm back to 100%. And then at that point, you kind of did feel pretty well about it overall. So I don't I don't know if Beck will be. I mean, he made a lot of poor decisions. I think Beck has looked really good when he has a really good offensive line. Last year at Georgia, when he didn't have a
Yes,
really good offensive line, he was not really good.
yes.
So that's another concern that you could have. And yeah, his arm strength is certainly not in the top level. But because this quarterback class is so weak, he will get drafted. I don't expect him. I hope he has a good NFL career, but I can't expect anything more than being a little bit of a career backup.
Exactly. And then for the tight end, why
Yeah.
are we going with a 6'1" tight end?
Yeah.
That
I like
that
Lofton. I like him, but they want to use him as a gadget guy, and they never really got to use him like that. And then I believe he also like he was a little bit heavier than he was in his freshman year, and he's just now kind of in this in between spot. And now you also have Bauman, who is supposed to be your safety blanket, good blocker, didn't show that on Monday. It's like tight end is definitely something I thought I was really confident about, and I don't feel the same anymore.
and I'm glad the tight end coach with the Ole Miss. I was very disappointed over the recruiting of tight ends since he's been there. We got to get back to getting tight ends at 6'4", 6'5". There's somewhere in America, like Indiana got them guys. There's somewhere out there we can get a guy 6'4", 6'5". Quit selling for these little 6'1" gadget guys that we got to put on 40 pounds, and he ain't built to carry that much weight. That's why he kept getting hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So it was a great year for Miami. We didn't win the championship, but I feel great going forward. I know we're gonna make a great job in the quarter. We're gonna get the quarterback from Duke. Not worried about on the line of scrimmage. Now, I might be wrong. This is just me. And I love number 4, our running back. But I just thought all the pounding that he takes, that he would want to go to the NFL and go ahead and start getting a check now because he's taking pounding here at the University of
Yeah.
Miami, and I was
Yeah.
and I was hoping we were gonna get a little bit faster at the running back position by keeping Gerard and
Well,
run with
I mean, Commando Breezy just said it. Pringle just withdrew from the portal,
great,
so he's coming back. That feels
great.
good. That
So
feels good.
that that feels good. But we do need more pop, and
Yeah.
he's the pop. Jordan Lyles is the pop at the running back position. I'm just feeling better because I got a quarterback that I know I can go into the season with that I have no worries about. A man who ain't gonna say, "Well, I should have read it was cover two." How you not see them two safeties back there for you to say it wasn't cover two? I don't even want to hear that, man. If it's cover two, that means you just walk the ball down the field. Quit being greedy. You don't have the arm to be greedy. You both just small steps down the field. See, when you
You
tell me that right now, I'm mad at Shannon because Shannon see this man in practice every day, and he know he don't have the arm strength to do that. I'm trying to think of every when he's thrown it in the double coverage all year. I just don't remember many good plays coming when he threw against double cover. It was always an interception or the ball was batted down.
that is fair. I on Monday, I mean, I watched a little bit after the game about Beck again. There were a lot of throws. He was trying to be. He was being greedy. He had a lot of checkdowns that he just refused to take, and instead he wanted to get greedy and he threw it into tight coverage, into double coverage, and it didn't end up working out. And you know, that was definitely a little bit of his downfall. He didn't play nearly as good of a game he played against Ole Miss or Ohio State or any of those games.
And another thing that I know that we are back, a lot more trolls are coming into the
That's
showdown. I absolutely love that. I love to see the baby gators down there and FSU down there at the bottom of the swamp. that now we're back and we the kings of Florida. I love it.
Mhm.
I know I'm gonna be in the playoffs as long as Mario there. He recruits like he recruits. He goes into the port and get us a top quarterback every year. Cause the two quarterbacks we got coming up, they small. I just I
Yeah,
just, I don't want to be small at quarterback, and I don't want to be small at tight end. You need to be being 6'3" and above at those two positions. 6'2" at the minimum, but I really want to be 6'3" and above.
I agree. I agree. And Darion Coleman,
Yeah.
that's the one concern about Darion Coleman, that he is a little bit shorter than for his size. And it's here, and that I definitely agree with. But other than that, I mean, if you do get Mensa, there's a chance you could keep him for another year as well. I don't think they will, but I do like Mensa a lot as well.
There's no if. We're gonna get Menza.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing. There's nothing they can do to stop this. Nothing. We're gonna pay the $4 million fine, whatever they want to call it, to get him up out of there. Nobody want Duke won the ACC, then made the playoffs, and people wonder why he wants to leave. It's once we put that cap back over Miami, like we finna do, my boy at Ohio State told you if we were winning like we used to, I'd have been down there with the U. Now all these
Mhm.
guys from the see, we are back. They're not gonna be leaving the crib no more. They're gonna stay home and we gonna rise back like we used to be. I know Mario don't want to talk about the old days, but without the old days, no one would be talking about the U. The old days built the U. The Sports Center special, out 30 for 30. So yes, it's a lot of pressure on you, Mario, because you got to live up to that.
Yes.
Especially when you see this dude come to Indiana and ain't lost but one game in 2 years and win a national title. Year five, we should be back in that title game. I don't want to hear no excuse why he can't get back to the title game if this guy can do it in 2 years.
Yes, the standard has definitely changed for him, and that's a good thing. That his standard
Yes.
has made it so that the standard is different, where he has to find his way back to this spot again. And I do think he will, and I like the way that he has built this team. It's going to take a little bit, and I got to see what certain things look like. I do think the offensive line, to me, is probably almost the only concern that I have, because it's just a new group of guys, and they could be younger and experienced, and they need maybe the chemistry. But other than that, I love the way that this team looks like throughout, for next
Okay.
season.
Okay. The only concern, let me tell you what was wrong with the offensive line to me. It could have been great. It was good, but not great
Hmm.
because the center could not run block. We always had to do the duo with him because he couldn't handle nobody at 295. He wasn't strong enough. Now I don't know if the Samoan gonna be starting at center next year or we're gonna go back in the transfer portal. But that if we saw he wasn't a run blocker, look how we were scoring in the second half. We were running outside. Why not run behind 61 and Cooper like we were doing in the second half or run on the outside of bit Markel Bell? Why we kept trying to run up under this center who you got the double team and we can't? He just was the weak point. We were good on the offensive line, but he was a grade C run blocker. He was good in pass protect, but grade C run block. We got to upgrade that position. And I know Mario and little mini Mario gonna do that. But once we get us a great center to go with the rest of the line, the sky's the limit on offense.
Yeah,
Then you want to run up in the middle like you want to do that.
they did say they wanted to stay in house on the center. I think between SJ, the Samoan center, the Samoan guy. I think that's where they're going to go there. Yeah, the offensive line to me is the only one that I'm like a little iffy on, but I always trust what Mirabal can do with that group. I do. I feel confident in the way that Miami is. I think that they did a really good job with it.
I absolutely agree. I want to thank you as always for taking my call. Go Hurricanes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jimmy, as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jimmy. Let me respond to some of the comments. See, again, I think. Let's see. So the recruiting class I've mentioned a couple times. It's top 10 in the recruiting class. The transfer portal. We've gotten guys: Damon Wilson, Andrews Jones, the West Virginia guy, Jarquez Carter, guys, Omar Thornton. So I like the way they've done it so far, and they're continue to get more guys. And yes, as was mentioned prior, uh, Gerard Pringle's back, which is awesome. I'm so excited to get Gerard Pringle back, and having Pringle back, and the idea of having Darian Mens as your quarterback, pair with Cooper Barkate, is awesome. I love it all. The only concern that I would have currently is the offensive line, just for the fact that I don't know what we're really looking at, and if we are, you're kind of relying on projections like Jackson Cantwell, or maybe they go into the portal and get Jordan Seaton, which would be nice, or SJ to take over at center. You're getting guys that might be a little bit more inexperienced or just not as talented as last year's team, guys were, because Markel Bell is a dog. He was an absolute unit of an offensive lineman, had a great year. And so did and CeCe Malino is a top 10 pick in the draft. So yeah. Yeah, George is a troll. He's been around Wiz college football for a while now. He's a little hurt. He's a little hurt that his Gators are 4-8. That's it. His Gators are 4-8, and they're in a rebuild mode, and they're probably the third best team in the state of Florida, despite FSU being a total train wreck. It's all I'll say there. But yeah, I don't look. JJ is not coming. I would JJ Moore. JJ is not coming. But Malachi Tony, Cooper Barkate, and then Josh Moore is a great wide receiver 3. And if you were to take a fourth receiver, I'd probably say Vendrevis Jones. Yeah, yeah, yes. I forgot about that. I forgot about FIU. FIU is probably better than Gators right now. Okay, let me do this before I call it. Top 5 Florida teams right now. We go Miami. I think it's Miami, and then it's extreme gap. I don't know who you can put. UCF as a number. USF. I like USF. I like where Heartline's bringing that team. USF, UCF, FSU, FIU, UF. No, I can't put UF. UF was bad. They're rebuilding. The UF is bad. FSU is even worse. But FSU at least finished with like 5 wins, 6 wins. And I know they're gonna. I mean, they got to wait for Norvell to get fired for that program to get better. FIU is probably better than the USF is different without Golish, but I really like. Bethune's not better. Don't do Bethune. Don't say Bethune. USF is definitely a different team without Golish, but I love the Brian Hartline hire, and I think they're going to do a really good job bringing in talent overall. I know you lose Brown. Whoa. Well, let's slow down a little bit. We slow down a little bit on Bethune and Miami-Dade College. I can maybe give you FIU. I'll give you FAU. No, I won't give you FAU. But USF is definitely better. I don't know. It's a fun thought experiment for sure. But yeah, I'll wrap it up here. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Yes, that's true. That's true, James. Shout out FAMU. Shout out FAMU. Thank you guys for tuning in. Had a great time talking with you guys. Me and Shay will be back on Monday for Miami calling the Miami Hurricanes Primetime Live at 7 p.m. on Monday. I'll see you guys then. Have a great night. Appreciate you guys for coming in. Peace.